You are listening to the Centropic Oracle, an audiobook podcast of science fiction and fantasy short stories that make you think and feel. The Forest is a Dancer by Lynne Sargent. Felicia twirls, directing the rain that has gathered on her into the loam of the forest, the water spinning off in centrifugal glory. The rain comes down relentlessly. It used to always be like this. But now the deluge is a cause for celebration, and so she celebrates the best way she knows how, with dance. Her bodysuit is made of soft red cedar, her leg warmers of moss, her shawl is of ferns, and her scrunchie of vines. But even these thirsty things cannot consume all the rain, though they try. What cannot be contained by her costume is directed by her movements, down and into the forest floor. Tomorrow, everything will be lusher than it was before, the leaves a darker green, the fungi will peek through the ground in great blooms, and if they are very lucky, after that, it will rain again. She dances fearlessly despite the slick and muddy ground. She slips from time to time when she should be gliding through a pas de bourrée. Occasionally, as she turns, her pirouette finds too much pressure as it drills down into the peat. But all these failures and imperfections roll off her like rain. Her art demands practice, after all. Sometimes that practice means falling. It means that her ankle breaks, or her knee, twisted beyond the limits of her turnout, shatters, or the cartilage in her foot bursts, like so many seeds waiting to take root. But if this happens, she leaves it behind, to be like a nurse log to the next generation of the forest. If there can be a next generation anymore. Some nights there is no audience, and it is nothing to her. That is their hubris, thinking she performs for them. No, the strain of flexibility, the ache of hard-won strength, they are for her body and hers alone. The problem is not the lack of audience. The problem is her lack of stage. Her problem is how the rain lessens each year, despite how she tries to call it with her dance, and how the edges of the forest recede and are cut down. Her extensions feel constrained. She cannot use her space, cannot jump as high or spin as far. Dance is about freedom and growth, and yet the world around her is shrinking, and demanding she become smaller too. The problem is the logging, but it is also the fires. Once they would smolder every other year, and it was like using candles for stage lighting. A nuisance to be avoided, sure, but nothing more. Now they come less frequently, but when they do, they rage. She could stand taking a season off, striking the set and letting the fire take down the scrim with its hot licks of flame. She could wait for the sapling Douglas firs to rise like a new coat of paint from the ashes, for them to come back in the spring ready for the sunlight and the spotlight. But that is not what the fires are like now. Now they burn so hot, her bodysuit catches fire and chars her in turn. They are doused eventually, but where there should be new growths in the aftermath, there are instead new developments that crop up like weeds, and so she is left to hand-sew new costumes by herself and make do with the space that is left. No, these new ills are nothing like the old. They are not a change, not like adding or subtracting a proscenium or some risers. The fires, the logging, they are like taking a sledgehammer to the orchestra pit and dropping the chandelier into a million pieces because the bulldozer is coming tomorrow anyways. Coming tomorrow and the day after, and yesterday too. The stage manager is her first recourse. She hasn't had a choreographer in ages, and she's too small potatoes to go to the director. She finds him at the bank of the river, the edge of the stage, keeping watch. He's new, but not the first of his kind to play this role. The Blue Herons have seen things come and go. They aren't so tied to the theater, the rehearsal hall. He's not paying any attention to her, and it's hours before call time anyways, so he's standing on his spindly legs, plucking at his feathers, preening, getting ready to get some lunch into his sharp orange beak. But she interrupts him nonetheless, asks abruptly, "How can I save the stage?" He's already bored with her, and she can tell. Performers are such divas, right? "Sleep with the building manager," he snaps, before stabbing at a fish. He was lucky, it's a good one, and he swallows it down smoothly, despite the last of its wriggles. "Might work, has before, dunno about here." He stabs another fish, tosses that one away, and thinks for a second. "Or a donor. Sleeping with a donor might be even better." Her mouth gapes, and the ferns around her shoulders shake with anger. That is not what it should take. That is not on her. She goes further upriver and asks the fish instead. They are old pink salmon, come to lay their eggs before they die. They are different kinds of artists than her, or will be when it is time for the bears to paint the trees with their nitrogen. Still, they might help. They do not speak with her metaphors, having no good vision of what a dance should be, or how a forest might, by its image, evoke wonder. They are all about the nose, and so they tell her of the scent of gifts and grants, the boons that let them come here in the name of restoration. They tell her to go in the direction that smells of salt and smoke, to go to the place that has the tang of metal and sewage. But even if she could use such directions, she cannot wander and return home after as they do, and even if she could, she does not know if she could beg for what she needs. Dancing is space, and she loves it enough to sacrifice. That's what the cracked-off limbs are, the seeds, that which becomes an incubator for new life in the forest, that which builds her stage out. She's given the forest her aching muscles, the cramps in the middle of the night, the knees that will not even be strong enough to bear her dreams when she is a grandmother. But she cannot beg with any more of her. She cannot leave to ask for help from those who could give it, and they will not come for her the way they come for the salmon, for she is not half so delicious. When there is nothing else, there is her practice. She runs her pirouettes, double, triple, falls out, over-rotates, winds up. The last is the most egregious error of all, because it comes at the beginning. Finally, she rolls over her ankle and ends up in the peat. She weeps. There is a reason weeping brings help, and it is not for the reasons you might think. It is not because it means she is helpless. No, it is because weeping is watering, and that is the nourishment that helps all things grow. The fungi, uncountable, come to her call. The Foliotina filaris, the Gallerenia marginata, the Amanita bisporigira, and so many more she cannot name them because there are too many to have names for them all yet. They pop up, long white stems and a cap like a parasol, warm yellow gills, and smooth, shining brown caps. More and more come to her, as they came after the rain, fold and flats and sponges in a rainbow of earth tones. She's never thought of them much. They are there. That is enough. They are the undercurrent of everything, breaking down what was, including her remnants, and building anew. When the sounds of trees thundering to the ground day after day quieted her ears, they were there for her, giving her the melody of the forest, guiding the rhythm of her steps. Now they speak more clearly. What do we do? They ask, sucking up her tears as they go, coming to her, crawling along her roots, bringing the energy of all the rest of the forest with them. We would rather your rain dance than your rain. Tell us, whirling one, you have given us so much. It is our turn. At first, Felicia does not understand. Then she remembers. The cracks, the knee, the seeds. All the breakages that would have felled her if she did not have the gift of endless growth. These things made her excellent, for excellence is the will to break. Not all her skill could have come from faster spotting and endless practice alone. She has been broken so many times, and they have eaten it all her failures. They have proliferated and thrived in her cracks, glutted themselves on the causalities of her will. I need a place, she says, just place enough to dance. And so they send their spores out, floating in the wind, a confetti in pinks, whites, browns, and blacks, all the base colors of life in a subtle, patterned wind of change. They germinate and expand in new kinds of bodies, making them as 1,000 nurse logs. There is a great sound in the distance for a while, coughs, strangled noises, gasps. But it is only for a while, and the silence that follows is greater. The years spread out and with the spores, and her new spongy stage expands, making space for all that will follow. See as she fouettes in the thunderstorm. See her hands in a port-de-bras stir the spores. See the bears beat the salmon against the trees like a round of applause, and the heron call the cue for the lightning that she guides with her tourgetée. Breathe in the earthy musk, and see the forest grow once more. We hope you enjoyed The Forest is a Dancer by Lynne Sargent, read by Larissa Thompson. If you'd like to learn more about the author and narrator of this story or make a donation to them, follow the story page link in the description. If you would like to submit a story for consideration or apply to be a narrator, a link to our submission guidelines is in the description. This story is copyrighted 2020 by the Centropic Oracle.